Hi, I'm Kaylee, and today I'm going to tell you about some fictional characters that I wish that I could meet in real life. If you haven't done so already, please do subscribe and click that like button if you like this video. So I started thinking about some of my favorite fictional characters from some of my favorite books and thinking which characters would I really want to meet, like in real life, and just sit down and have a meal with them and have a conversation with them. Who are the people that I would really want to sit down with and just get to know them? And it's not always who you would think. Like sometimes there are characters that I love, but I love them when they're in their adventures, I don't think I would really actually like them in real life. I like them when they're in the middle of an adventure or when they're solving a mystery or whatever it is that they're doing. But in real life, I feel like I would not be friends with that person. So here are a few book characters that I would want to be friends with and meet up with them and just have a normal conversation with them in real life. So first on my list is Hercule Poirot. Poirot is, of course, a famous detective from Agatha Christie's books. He is my favorite of Agatha Christie's detectives. I think that I would want to meet him because he is so smart and observant, but he's also very kind. He's also incredibly compassionate, and he has such perfect manners. So I would love to sit down to tea and just have like a very refined, sort of elegant conversation with Hercule Poirot. Next is Reynie Muldoon from the Mysterious Benedict Society. He's another one that is very smart, but I think the attraction here is just that Reynie is so curious about everything. He's just full of interesting facts. I would love to take a class with him as one of my classmates because he's so, he's curious and smart and puzzling things through, and I would love to be like part of that team that was taking a class with him to learn things. The next one should come as no surprise. It's Hermione Granger. This is another person that I would like to be in a class with because, I would like to be studying together and doing homework together and learning and reading books together and talking about what we've read. Hermione is another one of those people that is super smart, but also really kind and compassionate. I feel like she would just be so much fun to hang out with. Another attractive quality in Hermione is that she's so passionate. She really cares about things. And I feel like that would just be so inspiring to be around her. Next is Anne Shirley. Anne is just so imaginative. There's this one scene in the Anne books where Anne and her friends kind of go exploring through the woods around the farmland there. And they take a picnic out into the woods and they're just kind of exploring and they're reciting poetry and they're kind of discovering the beauties of nature out around this lovely woodland. And they sort of confide in one another their hopes and dreams. That is what I would want to do with Anne. I would want to take a walk in the woods and take a picnic and talk about our favorite books and poetry and just imagine castles in the sky. I feel like even a mundane, ordinary day with Anne would feel magical. And next is Peter Pevensie, the High King of Narnia. I have had a crush on Peter Pevensie since forever. Seriously, when I was a little girl, he was my book boyfriend. Peter is just so brave and true and loyal. I feel like he's just so honest and straightforward. You would just always know where you stand with him. And that's really refreshing these days when you can find someone who is just themselves. And they're not manipulative and they're not trying to sell you something. They're just them. I feel like it would just be really refreshing to hang out with Peter and the Pevensie siblings in Narnia. Next is Matilda Wormwood. I mean, there's a definite trend in all of these characters that I tend to go for the smart people, right? I just want to surround myself with super intelligent people and like glean some of their wisdom and their knowledge might rub off on me. Matilda is adorable. She is just so sweet and so cute and so smart and just, oh, I just want to hug her and play hopscotch together and swing on the swings and sing our favorite songs and sit down and read something together. And then we would eat ice cream and we would braid each other's hair. Oh, Matilda, she's so fantastic. She's just so adorable. Next is Josephine March. I love Jo because she has such a passion, such an imagination. She knows what she wants and she goes after it. I feel like sitting around, you know, eating a meal with her, she would start telling you about her latest story idea that she's gonna write, and you would just be kind of swept away in this passionate inspiration that has taken hold of her. I think it would just never be a dull moment hanging out with Josephine March. Next is Lord Peter Wimsey. Lord Peter is smart and sensitive and the perfect gentleman. I think hanging out with Lord Peter would just be absolutely charming. Like he would just turn on that charm and he would just make you feel so welcome and be like the perfect host, and you would just have such a lovely time just sitting around talking about nothing and everything and just chilling. The next one is kind of a weird one, maybe, but it's Mole from The Wind and the Willows. Mole has always been my favorite character from Wind and the Willows, and I would love to visit his little home under the tree in his little underground burrow. It just sounds so cozy, like the little cozy chairs and the hearth fire and whatever food that they have, scones or something baking in the oven. It just literally sounds so cozy, like you could come in from the rain and dry off in front of the fire, and you would just be so absolutely comfortable, you know? You could just sit and relax by the fire. And Mole is such a comfortable person to be around. He's just so quiet and unassuming, and he's so adorable and sweet, and I feel like you would just be perfectly at your ease when Mole is around. The next one is Molly Gibson, dear sweet Molly from Wives and Daughters. I feel like Molly Gibson is really just the perfect friend. Molly is that perfect confidant who would always keep your secrets and would always be on your side. She would be there to listen and be a shoulder to cry on, and she would just be, you know, the perfect best friend. And lastly is Beatrice from Shakespeare's Much Ado About Nothing. Beatrice, I feel like, would just be the life of the party. Like, she would just have everybody laughing. She is so witty and smart and fun, and she would just have you in stitches all the time. And yet, if you wanted to have a serious conversation with her, she would be up for that too. And she would, you know, puzzle through things with you and try to find some wisdom to give you good advice. She's passionate and fierce, and I adore her. So those are the book characters that I would definitely want to meet in real life and actually hang with them and be friends with them. However, as I was making this list, I was thinking about some other characters like, ooh, I would love to meet them. And then I thought, oh, actually, when I started really thinking about it, if I really met them in real life, ooh, I feel like I would just be too intimidated. Like, they're just such a larger than life, almost just too much kind of character that I would be way too intimidated to actually meet them in real life. I love them on the page, but in real life, I just feel like I cannot handle this person. They are too much. So really quick, my list of 2 intimidating fictional characters that I've decided I wouldn't want to meet them in real life. First off, we have Sherlock Holmes. I adore Sherlock. I love the Holmes stories. But somehow I feel like if I met him in real life, I would just know that he was like picking apart my life, that he would know all my secrets, you know? He would know everything about me with just one glance, and I would just be like, I can't. This is too much. It would be really intimidating and really scary to just try to have a normal conversation with him. I feel like I would just be frozen. The next one is Artemis Fowl. Now, I love Artemis Fowl. He's that thief with a heart of gold. But still, I feel like he would just be too much. He's way too much for me to handle. He's a genius. He thinks he's better than everybody else. I feel like when he is looking at people, he's just kind of looking at them like, how can I use this relationship with this person as a step to sort of get to where I want to go? So it's like he's just seen every relationship through this lens of how is this going to serve my purposes? I don't think I want to be friends with Artemis Fowl. Then we have Edmond Dantes from one of my favorite books, The Count of Monte Cristo. This is another one where I feel like he looks at everybody through this lens of how can my relationship with this person serve my purposes and, you know, my grand scheme of what I'm doing. I would just always feel like he's scheming. Like he's just very sly. He's very sly and scheming. And maybe he wouldn't even be like scheming against me, but he would be scheming somewhere. There would be some kind of scheming on some level somewhere. And I've said scheming so many times that the word has lost all meaning. Okay. The next one is Sir Percy Blakeney from the Scarlet Pimpernel series. This is another one with the scheming. I mean, he's a spy, so he's always looking for that exit. He's always looking for that angle. And I would just feel like, I don't know, where do I fit into your plans or something? I'm not so sure about that. Then another one that kind of surprised me was Tom Sawyer. I mean, he's just a kid, but he's just so over the top. You just never know what to expect from him. I feel like he's very irreverent, so maybe he wouldn't be polite to an old lady like me. I just feel like Tom would just be too much kid for me to handle. Just like, you need to mind your manners, mister. And lastly is Flora Poste from Cold Comfort Farm. I do love Flora, but she definitely has her own scheming and plans, and she tends to kind of put people in a box. Like, she just has her idea of your personality and who you are and how you fit into her world. And she's a bit of a busybody. She has her finger in every pie, which makes for a very hilarious and wonderfully funny story in the book. But I just feel like she and I would probably butt heads, and I think we would not get along. So please leave me a comment down below and let me know what are some of your favorite book characters that you wish you could meet in real life, and what are some that you feel like, ooh, I would be too intimidated to meet them in real life. I just don't think we would get along. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, and remember, the right book in the right hands at the right time can change the world.
Thank you.